Welcome to Sleep With Me. Get comfortable. Close your eyes whenever you're ready. Throughout this video, take slow, deep breaths. Breathe in for 5 seconds. Hold for 5 seconds and breathe out for 5 seconds. Count gently to 5 in your mind. There's no rush. You don't need to listen closely. You don't need to follow the story. Just let the words wash over you and allow your mind to drift. There's nowhere to go, nothing to do, just rest. Let's begin. The Keeper of Distant Hills. There is a place somewhere far from here, where the hills roll gently toward the edge of the sky. And in that place, in a time that no one quite remembers, there was a path, a quiet path, the kind of path that seems to have always been there, winding softly through tall grass that moved in slow waves, as if the land itself were breathing. And along this path, in a way that felt neither hurried nor delayed, there walked a figure. Perhaps it was a woman, or perhaps it was simply someone who had been walking for a very long time. It does not matter, really. What matters is the walking itself, the gentle rhythm of footsteps on soft earth, the steady, unhurried movement forward. The sky above was the color of early evening, or perhaps late afternoon. That quiet hour when the light becomes softer, when shadows stretch long and thin across the ground, and the world begins to settle into something more peaceful. The kind of light that makes everything feel a little further away, a little less urgent. And this figure, this quiet traveler, carried nothing of importance. Perhaps a small bag, perhaps nothing at all. It is difficult to say, and there is no need to know for certain. Some things are meant to remain unclear, and that uncertainty is part of what makes the walking so easy, so natural, so free of any weight. In the distance, there was a house, not a grand house, not a remarkable house, but simply a house that had been there for as long as anyone could recall. It sat at the place where the path curved gently around a low hill, and its walls were the color of old stone, the color of things that have been touched by weather and time and countless quiet seasons. The windows of this house held a soft light, the kind of light that seems to come from nowhere in particular. Not firelight, not lamplight, but something more like the memory of light. A glow that was always there, always steady, always the same. And the figure on the path moved toward this house, in the way that things naturally move toward other things, without effort, without intention. The way water finds its way downhill, the way evening finds its way into night. There was nothing to decide, nothing to consider, only the walking and the soft sound of grass brushing against cloth, and the gradual, gentle approach. Now, it is said, though no one knows who first said it, that this house had a keeper, someone whose purpose was simply to be there, to tend to small things, to notice the way the light changed through the seasons, to listen to the sound of wind moving through the hills. This keeper had no particular name, or perhaps had many names, all of them forgotten now. Names have a way of drifting away when they are no longer needed, like clouds that slowly dissolve into a clear sky. And this keeper, in whatever way keepers exist, had been in this house for a very long time. Long enough that the boundary between the keeper and the house had grown soft, unclear, as if they were part of the same quiet thing. The keeper spent the days, if they could be called days, moving slowly from room to room. There were not many rooms, but there was no hurry, and so each room took as long as it needed to take. A window might be looked through for an hour, or for a moment, or for something in between. Time moved differently here, in the way that time often moves differently when there is nothing pulling at it, nothing demanding that it be measured or counted. And so, on this evening, or what felt like evening, the figure from the path arrived at the door of the house. There was no knocking, no announcement. The door was simply open, as it always was, and the figure stepped inside, as if this were something that had happened many times before, or perhaps would happen many times again. The keeper was there, in a room that smelled faintly of old wood and dried herbs, sitting in a chair by the window. The chair was the kind that had been sat in so often that it had taken on the shape of stillness itself. And the keeper looked up, or perhaps had already been looking, and there was a moment of recognition that needed no words. They sat together then, the traveler and the keeper, in the soft light that filled the room. And if words were spoken, they were words of no particular consequence. The kind of words that are more like sounds, like the quiet murmur of a stream over stones, like the distant call of a bird that has no name. Perhaps they spoke of the path. Perhaps they spoke of the hills, of the way the grass moved in the wind, of the particular quality of light that came at this hour. Or perhaps they simply sat in the kind of silence that is not empty, but full of all the things that do not need to be said. Outside, the light continued to soften. The sky took on deeper colors, colors that had no names, colors that shifted so slowly that the shifting itself was invisible. And the hills, those distant hills, began to fade into the horizon, their edges becoming less distinct, their shapes becoming more like suggestions of shapes, more like the memory of hills than hills themselves. And inside the house, the room grew quieter still. The kind of quiet that is not the absence of sound, but the presence of something deeper. A quiet that settles into the body, into the breath, into the spaces between thoughts. The keeper rose at some point and moved to another part of the house. Or perhaps the keeper remained seated, and it was only the attention that moved, drifting from one thing to another, the way attention does when there is nothing holding it in place. A candle was lit, or perhaps it had always been lit, its flame so steady that it seemed not to flicker at all, but simply to glow, patient and soft. And the traveler, the one who had walked the path, felt something that might have been tiredness, or might have been something else entirely. A kind of settling, a kind of sinking, the way a leaf settles slowly to the surface of still water. There was no resistance to this feeling, no need to name it or understand it. It was simply there, and it was gentle, and it was welcome. The chair in which the traveler sat was soft, softer than it had seemed at first, and the room itself seemed to grow softer too, its edges becoming less defined, its corners receding into shadow, its walls becoming more like the idea of walls than walls themselves. And perhaps the traveler closed their eyes, or perhaps the room simply grew dimmer, or perhaps there was no difference between these things. The light from the window was a pale, distant thing now, the color of mist, the color of early morning fog, the color of something half remembered. There is a story, an old story, that says this house exists in many places at once, that the path leading to it can be found from any direction, at any time, by anyone who happens to be walking in the right way, at the right moment. Not walking toward anything, not walking away from anything, but simply walking in the way that the body sometimes knows how to walk when the mind has stopped giving instructions. And the story says that those who find this house are welcome to stay for as long as they wish, for as long as they need. That there is always a room, always a chair, always a window looking out on those soft, rolling hills. And that the keeper is always there, tending to the small things, noticing the way the light changes, listening to the sound of wind moving through the grass. But this is only a story, and stories do not need to be true to be real. They only need to be told, softly, slowly, in the quiet hours, when the day is ending and the night is beginning, or when the night is ending and the day has not yet begun. And now, in this room, in this house, in this place that is somewhere and nowhere, the fire, if there is a fire, burns low. The light is dim, but not dark. The air is still, but not stagnant. Everything is as it should be, which is to say, everything simply is. The traveler has been here before, or will be here again, or is here for the first time and the last time, all at once. It does not matter. What matters is the softness of the chair, the steadiness of the breath, the way the body has begun to feel heavier, or perhaps lighter, or perhaps both, in a way that makes sense without needing to make sense. And the keeper, somewhere in the house, is moving through rooms, or standing still, or sitting by a window, watching the hills as they fade, as they always fade, into the gentle darkness. The hills have names, perhaps, but no one speaks them. The hills have been there since before the story began, and they will be there long after the story has been forgotten. Outside, if there is an outside, the stars are appearing. One by one, slowly, the way stars do when there is no one watching them closely. They are faint at first, barely visible, more like suggestions of light than light itself. And then, gradually, they grow brighter, or perhaps the sky grows darker, and either way, the result is the same. The stars have been there for a very long time. Longer than the hills, longer than the path, longer than the house with its soft light and its quiet keeper. And they will be there for longer still, steady and patient, asking nothing, expecting nothing, simply shining in the way that stars shine. And if the traveler were to look up through the window at those distant points of light, they might feel something, a kind of vastness, a kind of peace, the kind of feeling that comes when the mind stops trying to understand and simply allows itself to be. But the traveler is not looking up. The traveler is resting, settling, drifting in the way that things drift when there is nothing to hold them. The keeper has brought something, a blanket, perhaps, or a cup of something warm. It is difficult to say, and it is not important. What is important is the gesture, the quiet care, the way that comfort is offered without words, without expectation, without any need for acknowledgement. And the traveler receives this, whatever it is, in the way that one receives a gift from someone who does not think of it as a gift. Simply, naturally, as if it were the most ordinary thing in the world, as if it had always been this way, and would always be this way, and there was nothing remarkable about it at all. The room is very quiet now, the kind of quiet that feels like a presence, like a companion, like something that has been invited in and has chosen to stay. And in this quiet, the sounds that do exist, the soft creak of the house settling, the distant murmur of wind, the faint rhythm of breathing, seemed to belong to the quiet, to be part of it rather than interruptions of it. And so the evening continues, or perhaps it has stopped continuing, or perhaps it was never an evening at all, but something else entirely. A pause, a resting place, a moment stretched out until it becomes a kind of stillness. The hills outside are invisible now, lost in the soft darkness, but they are still there. They have always been there, and they always will be there, patient and still, holding their shape even when no one can see them. And the path that leads to the house is invisible too, but it remains, winding gently through the grass, ready for the next traveler, whenever that might be. The keeper sits in a chair by the window, or by the fire, or in some other room, in some other part of the house. The keeper is always sitting, always watching, always tending to the small things. This is what keepers do. This is what they have always done, and what they will always do in this house, in this place, in this story that is being told and not told at the same time. And the traveler, resting in the soft chair, feels the weight of the day, if there was a day, beginning to lift. Or perhaps the weight is not lifting, but sinking down into something deeper, something that does not have a name, but does not need one. The body knows what this is, even if the mind does not. The body has done this many times before, and will do it many times again. The breath comes and goes, slowly, steadily, without effort, without thought, in and out, like the tide, like the wind, like the gentle rhythm of something that has no beginning and no end. And with each breath, the edges of things become softer, less distinct, more like the memory of edges than edges themselves. The room is still there, but it is further away now, or the traveler is further away from it, or the distance between them has become something that cannot be measured. It does not matter. What matters is the softness, the stillness, the slow and gentle drifting. There are words, perhaps, floating somewhere in the quiet. Words that have been spoken, or words that are yet to be spoken, or words that exist only in the space between speaking and not speaking. They are soft words, gentle words, words that do not demand attention, but simply offer themselves, like leaves falling from a tree, like clouds drifting across a pale sky. And these words, if they are words, say something about rest, something about peace, something about the way that all things eventually find their way home to the place where they are meant to be, without effort, without struggle, without any need to know where that place is or how to get there. The house knows. The hills know. The path knows. And the keeper, in the quiet of the evening, knows too. Knows that the traveler has arrived, has rested, has found what they came to find, even if they did not know they were looking for it. And now the light, the soft light that fills the room, begins to dim, or perhaps the eyes that see it begin to close, or perhaps there is no difference between these things. The light becomes softer and softer still, until it is more like a warmth than a brightness, more like a feeling than a sight. The traveler is drifting now, the way one drifts on still water, the way one drifts on a current of air, the way one drifts in the space between waking and not waking. And the drifting is gentle, so gentle, and there is nothing to hold on to and nothing to let go of, because holding and letting go have become the same thing. The keeper watches, or does not watch, or has stepped away to tend to something else, something small and quiet and unimportant. The fire, if there is a fire, has burned down to embers. The candle, if there is a candle, has flickered and dimmed. And the window that looks out on the hills, is dark now, dark and still, like a mirror reflecting nothing. And somewhere in the distance there is a sound, not a sound that requires attention, not a sound that means anything, but a sound that is simply there, part of the quiet, part of the stillness. Perhaps it is the wind moving through the grass on the hills. Perhaps it is the house itself settling deeper into the earth. Perhaps it is something else entirely, something that has no name and needs no name. The traveler does not hear this sound, or hears it without listening, or listens without hearing. It does not matter. What matters is the way the sound becomes part of everything else, part of the breath, part of the warmth, part of the slow and gentle drifting that has no beginning and no end. And the story, this story, begins to fade, not to end, but to fade. The way colors fade at dusk, the way sounds fade into silence, the way thoughts fade into something softer, something deeper, something that cannot be put into words because it is not made of words. The house is still there, on the hill, with its soft light and its quiet keeper. The path is still there, winding through the grass, waiting for the next traveler. The stars are still there, shining in the darkness, patient and distant and eternal. And the traveler, resting in the soft chair, or in a bed, or in some other place entirely, is still there too, still drifting, still settling, still moving towards something that does not need to be named or understood, something that is simply there, waiting, the way sleep waits, the way peace waits, the way the quiet hours of the night wait for morning. But morning is far away, so far away that it cannot be seen, cannot be imagined, cannot be thought about. There is only this moment, this soft and quiet moment, this gentle drifting in the space between, and the hills, the distant hills, rolling gently toward the edge of the sky, and the path, the quiet path, winding through the tall grass, and the light, the soft light, dimming slowly, so slowly, and the breath steady and calm, and the quiet, and the stillness, and the soft, and the slow, and the